Welcome to Ward Talk. This is Bonnie Gabowitz, your host, and we have a special edition this month because we're speaking with Christopher Taylor, our mayor. And Mayor Taylor, welcome to the show. It's not too often we get to see you. So first of all, Happy New Year and happy holidays.
You as
And
well. It's a pleasure to be here.
there's so much to talk about. So let's just get started with what's happened this year and what some of the accomplishments are, what we've gotten through since we have a lot of challenges this year. So go ahead. What would
Sure.
you like to talk about?
Well, it's whatever questions you have, I'm delighted to answer. But broadly, of course, this has been a year in Ann Arbor that where we've suffered through the pandemic, like so many. It has touched so many of our lives as individuals. Whether we ourselves have been sick, whether loved ones have been sick, or God forbid lost, and there's been tremendous amount of economic dislocation and loss here in our community, as well as throughout the county, state, and country. It's been
And I would like to point out,
devastating.
Mayor Taylor, that it's been remarkable what our neighbors have been trying to do for each other to help support people who are in need, including our businesses. So it seems that Ann Arbor, the community itself, has really taken this on and wants to do what they can. So
Yeah.
let's just talk about the pandemic because it has affected the city in many different ways. First of all, in terms of the budget, um, I understand this has really affected our plans for the coming year because we have less income from the tax base, especially the businesses. And I understand you're actually, the council's actually looking at the budget and doing some preparation early on for I believe it's April that you finalize or work on the budget, but already in January, things are going to start rolling. So tell us about the budget preparation.
Yeah, well, what we do in Ann Arbor is we tend to we pass a budget for this year, and then we pass a budget plan for next year. We like having 2-year cycles, and we're in the first year of a cycle. And you're exactly right that the impact of the pandemic is going to be felt at City Hall. A lot of our and that we're getting started on it. There's going to be an administrator's budget offered in April, and we're going to vote on it in May. A lot of our funding comes in through property taxes, and property taxes are fortunately going to be, of course, fairly stable because they don't rise and fall with the economy. But where we do get a fairly substantial hit to the revenue side in the city of Ann Arbor is through the loss of parking revenue. The Downtown Development Authority runs the city's parking system, and we get around 20% of the parking system fees off the top that go to the city's general fund. And parking is down by millions of dollars the year, and we're gonna experience that. There are also losses with respect to parks fees because of all the events that were canceled, the sporting events that were canceled. Parking ticket fees also are down this year, to the delight of some, but and to me, I wish no ill on anyone. But it is a revenue source for the city. Parking fees, a small one, but it's present. And so we're gonna lose those, and it's unlikely that those are going to bounce back anytime soon. We're also gonna, and you mentioned taxes up front. The state revenue sharing comes in, and that is keyed off of state sales tax, and that too we're expecting to be either we would be delighted if it were flat, but we're expecting it to be down. So we're going to have some real choices as to how we go forward in light of the pandemic. We're going to try to delay some capital projects where we can, as we can, consolidate offerings, make things even more efficient. We've been going through this process for years now. But the bottom line is that we were already under-resourced before COVID, and now it's going to be even more difficult.
Mhm. And I know you were very excited about uh, Ann Arbor's push for uh, better energy solutions and A20, and I know you really wanted to move forward. There's a plan for many years to come. Is that something that might have to be adjusted because of the tax base?
Yeah, well, you're right. I am incredibly excited. Ann Arbor, taking action on climate change, reducing, our carbon footprint is a moral imperative, right? It's a moral imperative as a society. And while there needs to be leadership at the state level and the federal level, we, in the absence of that drive, need to take action on the local level. And so what we did, and this is one of, I think, this year's substantial accomplishments, is that we adopted and approved the A20 carbon neutrality plan. The A20 carbon neutrality plan lays out a path for us in Ann Arbor to be carbon neutral as a community, not just a municipal organization, but as a community by the year 2030. That is a crazy ambitious goal, but we have a plan to get there, and it will require cooperation from a wide range of governmental units, the university, businesses, residents, and the utility, and so forth. And so, as to your questions to whether or not the COVID pandemic is going to, change our plans, well, it certainly is going to impact how we implement those plans. But the bottom line is that carbon neutrality is a moral imperative, and we need to get there. I take a little bit of heart, and this is another one of this year's, accomplishments. I take a little bit of heart in the residents, the voters' response to the Proposal C, the millage to promote and expand affordable housing in our community. We have housing disparities in Ann Arbor. Housing is too expensive. That's fundamental economic segregation that leads to racial segregation. And that's just not who we want to be. That's inconsistent with Ann Arbor's values. And so we as a city, with the passage of Proposal C, are going to be able to build over the next years between 1,000 and 1,500 units of new permanent affordable housing for folks who make anywhere between 0% or 60% of area median income. And I'm incredibly excited about the opportunity that that's going to provide for Ann Arbor to welcome new residents. And so this is all to say, we're going to go great guns on A20. We're going to make sure that we have the funding for it because, we got it.
It's here to stay.
That's right. It's the real deal.
You mentioned housing,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to touch upon one thing that hadn't been quite identified in the last couple of shows. What is Ann Arbor doing for the people who don't have housing right now for the winter months? Were you able to arrange anything differently in terms of offering additional housing for people who have lost their homes?
Yeah. Well, for folks who are not housed, the city is not a direct provider of homeless support services. That's not a function that we currently provide. That's provided through the county. So the folks surely know about the Delana Center at downtown. That's not a city. That's not a city project. That's a county project. We support them, of course, and we're doing so on an accelerated basis. At the outset of COVID, we provided some extra financial support to find shelter for people who needed it, so that they could have that support, have that shelter in a more distanced manner, so in a more COVID safe manner. And I'm suspecting that over time we'll provide similarly accelerated support for that function. But we as a city are so grateful for our partners at the county. This has come, of course, is exemplified in the county's work for homeless members of our community. But it brings to mind, when we're talking about COVID, all the great work done at the county's public health department. We at the city, we don't have a public health department. That's not one of our governmental functions. That's a function that's run through the county, and we are so grateful for that. The health officer and all the good work that she's doing to make sure that we are on the front foot in fighting the pandemic, that we're not denying the science, that we're taking action that's prudent and safe to make sure that that we that we all get through this together and that we get through this as healthy as we possibly can.
Now that it's winter, I know the council was able to help the small business, especially the restaurants, adjust in the fall by having the outdoor dining. Of course, that's not a given here in Michigan. It's a little too cold for that. And is there anything the city is looking at to help the restaurants through the winter?
Yeah, well, we are we are certainly listening to restaurants, trying to help them as best that we can. We have the city has limited control over resources, but we do have control over the streets and the right of way and the sidewalks. And so, as restaurants are coming forward with ideas for what they what they can possibly do with that area, we're here to help them. We're here to be creative, to find a solution that's going to be good for everyone. By way of example, you used to see a lot of orange bags. You see a few more red bags around town to make sure that the spaces in front of restaurants are available and suitable for pickup, takeout, pickup, and that sort of thing. But the bottom line is we are eager to work with the Downtown Development Authority, eager to work with the various merchant associations throughout the downtown and really everywhere throughout the city, because we know that we so value our local businesses, our small businesses, our restaurants and retailers. And while we can't, we're not here for grant support. We can't provide that. We can do what we can, and where we can, we do and will. Right.
And I personally have enjoyed the takeout myself.
Oh yeah.
So I'm glad that's still there. Well,
Absolutely.
we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about what's happening with the city for the year. Hi, we're back on Ward Talk. I'm speaking with Mayor Christopher Taylor this December 2020 session. I do want you to know that we'd love to hear from you, and you can make comments or ask questions. You can email us at ctn@a2gov.org, attention Ward Talk. You can also go on Twitter at twitter.com/CTN in Arbor. Okay, Mayor Taylor, we're back, and we have a few more things to talk about in what's left of our session. First of all, we have a new council. We had 5 new members voted in for November, and interestingly, each ward is now represented by one established member and one new member. So let's just talk about the makeup of the council. I know that this past year, there's been a lot of passionate work done, a lot of disagreement, a lot of push to have some changes made. How do you look at the new makeup of the council and what you can look forward to in the next year as a whole new different year and a whole new council?
Yeah, well, I'm very excited about the new council. I think we have, even with the challenges that we face with COVID and otherwise, I think there's a lot that we're going to be able to accomplish in the community. I think importantly, with this new council, with these 5 new council members, we're going to be able to, to do that in a way that does the community proud. I think that these new council members, each one is, smarter and more thoughtful than the next. And they are, they're not there to score political points or to, be angry with each other in the presence of disagreement. They're there to, to get things done, to get along with each other, to compromise where it's right to do so, and to move the city forward in a way that is that has an air of professionalism and courtesy about it. And so I'm really excited about the prospect of working with this new group.
Yeah. And in terms of, we've had online meetings for a few months now since the
Yeah,
pandemic started, and there's been a whole new adjustment in how community can be involved in not only watching the council do its work, but
sure.
also give input. Uh, and so I would like your take on how the council meetings are different now that it's online. Did you see any pros or cons with the change in its nature?
Yeah. Well, it is interesting. There's, I think, a little bit of loss, at least as a working body. I think the council loses a little bit by not being in the same room with each other. It deprives us of, the little personal interactions and context that that you get with, with people from working with them. And that, so we, I think, lose a little bit of relationship that way. I guess I would say though, that it is, from my perspective, it's a real boon to public engagement and public and transparency. To come to a city council meeting and to sit through a city council meeting at City Hall, to comment at a public hearing or make public comment, it requires folks to be to have the free time and the financial wherewithal to make their way downtown to take the night off. And
Plus, they might have to be sitting there for a while before they can actually speak. So it
absolutely.
could be a long night for them
Yes,
as
that's
well.
right. And it's difficult for folks that work. It's difficult for folks with young children, or even children of all ages who require attention and care. And frankly, it's also difficult for seniors who might have a tough time getting to City Hall at 7 o'clock and staying there until 9:30 by the time it's their turn to speak, and then trying to make their way home in the wintertime. So by having a Zoom meeting, we are really breaking down the barriers that so many residents experience to to have their time to communicate and engage with the city council at public hearing and public comment.
Do you see it as a possibility that having some kind of online engagement at meetings might continue once you have in-person meetings?
It's certainly a possibility. I think that we are able to, we need to have public meetings. Those meetings need to be transparent and open to everyone. Members of the public, community members deserve to, see what we're doing and how we're doing it, and listen to what we have to say, and poke it. And we can do that at an in-person meeting, but we can also do it at a Zoom meeting. And so, I don't think there's anything magic in terms of transparency about being in a room together. There are benefits, of course, but I think that there's a lot of room for experimentation, and I think we've learned from the greater access that we now experience. I think there's room too for some progressive change. What that
And
is, I don't know, but I'm open to it.
yeah, and is there any? Do you foresee any change in terms of public commentary? Who gets to speak? Is there any system in place where all you have to do is request the 3 minutes and you get to speak?
Well, that currently
Are there any new rules for that?
It's not clear exactly what sort of rules, whether there'll be any rule changes. Right now, we have half an hour of public comment at the beginning of the meeting, and that's for 10 people, 3 minutes. And you sign up by contacting the city clerk in advance. And we do have some rules there. By way of example, we privilege comment on agenda items. If you spoke at the last meeting, and then if there's a tie, if there's more people that want to speak than there's time for, then you're pushed a little bit down the list to give a new person the opportunity to speak. But we also have public comment at the end of the meeting. And at the end of the meeting, it's open to everyone. We will sit there and listen to public comment until people are done commenting. So there are some rules on the upfront, but on the back end, it's really absolutely anybody who wishes to speak has an opportunity to do so.
Okay, and this year we have a new city administrator who was actually the assistant, who is now the city administrator. how is he doing? And it seems to have been a smooth transition for him. So can you report on how he's doing?
Sure. So our new city administrator is Tom Crawford. Tom Crawford has been the city CFO for a number of years, and at various times in years past, also an interim city administrator. So he's known the job pretty well. The former city administrator was fired, was terminated in February, a decision that I was very much against. I thought he was doing an excellent job, and I was strongly against that. But we lost that vote, and the hiring of Mr. Crawford in the fall was unanimous. And he has done and is doing an excellent job. I really enjoy working with Mr. Crawford. I think the council, both continuing members and new members, really value his steadiness. And I think that we have well, in Mr. Crawford and really in all of staff, we have folks who come to the office every day, literally or virtually, to do work for people. They value providing service. They are eager to engage the public, and I think we couldn't be more fortunate.
Great. And if we could just have an update on what's happening with the dioxane plume. I know
Sure.
the city has asked for federal status, and this was a topic, a controversial consideration over the past couple of years, where the city wasn't really quite ready to go with the federal connection, but now it seems to be the way to go. So where are we at with that federal application?
So we are we're taking a two-track process right now. We have been engaged in state court as an intervener. We were negotiating with the polluter in an effort to come to a consent judgment. We do have a draft. There is a consent judgment that that we rejected ultimately, that the county and Scioto Township all rejected ultimately, but the judge in that case, and has asked us to all brief him and provide recommendations with respect to issuing an order, striving to resolve the matter in state court. And that's an interesting path, and I'm delighted that the judge has done it, and we're going to see where that takes us. In parallel, we have also asked the governor to work with EGLE, the state environmental agency, to apply to the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, for Superfund status, in an effort to obtain federal engagement on the cleanup. I think it's important that we realize that these are parallel paths. The federal engagement is by no means a sure thing. It's we don't know whether the federal government will take over the site. We don't know, and don't really have any control over the remedy that the federal government might ultimately declare. We did hear the representative from the EPA back last winter indicate that these sorts of inquiries take years, if not decades, before a remedy is implemented, as to devise the remedy. I'm hoping that if indeed EPA takes it over, that it'll be quicker than that. That that EPA will, in this new Biden administration, will be rigorous, identify the polluter as the polluter, and demand that they accelerate monitoring and provide substantially greater cleanup. Those are really my lodestars. Those are the two things that I've been looking for. The how we get there is less important to me than the success we have. It's important that we protect Barton Pond, that we protect the city's water supply, because clean, safe drinking water is an existential issue for the city of Ann Arbor.
And how detailed does the city monitor the movement of the plume? Is there much change, let's say, from year to year in terms of where it's moving?
There is, the plume is monitored all the time, and it does change, it does shift, it does flow. It is a complex environment down beneath the ground, and we do the best we can with the tools we have available to watch it. The polluter runs a lot of that operation. We do also have other wells that we look to determine where the plume is, what the concentrations of the 1,4-dioxane is at a particular site at a particular depth, and we all make our projections after that. The bottom line is that we need better monitoring so that we know where the plume is, and we need accelerated cleanup. The polluter has been sitting on a plume, dragging its heels for decades. The state has been, I believe, remiss with the previous drinking water standard of 85 parts per billion. And that has now changed to 7.2 parts per billion. We have additional engagement from Eagle with this, the governor's administration, and now with the Biden administration. Hopefully, we'll have EPA engagement as well. The bottom line is that this is a threat to our drinking water system, one of many, but we need to make sure that we are addressing it.
And in the 2 minutes we have left, I've seen a lot of discussion on community chat boards about the rising cost of water.
Yep.
And I don't know if everybody really understands what's behind the increase in cost, because I believe it will also be going up this year, that it doesn't go down. But it's not just for the actual water. What else does the water bill include?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'll go even farther. The water itself is free. Anybody that wants water can go and get it. What we're paying for, and what we need to pay more for, is the infrastructure to deliver clean, safe water to everybody in Ann Arbor whenever they want it, in whatever amount they wish it. And we need to do that for today, tomorrow, next month, next year, decades to come. And we have a drinking water system that is aging and aged. We have not kept up with our drinking water system as much as we need to. This is the distribution system. This is the water treatment system. The infrastructure we have will not be suitable for the future. And so the bottom line is, it's our, we talk a little bit about moral imperatives on the upfront. We need to provide, future Ann Arbor clean, safe drinking water. And without an upgraded drinking water distribution and treatment system, we're not going to be able to do that. We've got 500 miles of pipes. We have not had the money to fix those pipes in a way that gets us ahead of the curve. Our water treatment plant has areas that are operational areas that are 80 years old. This is built in the 1930s. This is simply not acceptable. There are new contaminants that we're discovering every day. There are new regulatory obligations to make water safer that are imposed. We need to have a drinking water plant that's ready for that does the job to deliver clean, safe drinking water to people. Water rates in Ann Arbor are calibrated in a manner in accordance with law. They're calibrated to your usage and the cost that we incur to provide the water to you. Further, I guess I'd say, our drinking water rates, our water rates and sewer rates, they're not at all out of the range with other Michigan jurisdictions. I have had a lot of talk in the community, and I believe that that talk has been unfortunate because it hasn't provided education to residents to tell them the real story about the drinking water system and why the rates need to go up. They need to go up.
Well, I think that's very important for people to understand what's behind it, even when they're having to pay the bills. They at least understand what they're paying for. Well, Mayor Taylor, you've really enlightened us on not only what we've accomplished, but what some of our responsibilities are for the next year. And I'd like to, again, thank you for visiting us, and Happy New Year.
Well, you as well, and call anytime.
Okay, great. This is Bonnie Gabowitz for Ward Talk. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to email us any questions or comments, please email us at ctn@a2gov.org, attention Ward Talk, or you may go on Twitter at twitter.com/CTN Ann Arbor. For Ward Talk, I'm Bonnie Gabowitz. Until next month.